SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, had been operating in Nigeria for decades and was accused of unlawful arrests, torture and even murder. And it was banned 3 times before reforms were announced. This week, thousands of people filled the streets of Nigeria after a video came to light allegedly showing members of the unit shooting and killing a man in Delta State. Then on Sunday, Nigeria's police chief announced that the squad would be disbanded, but all its officers will be redeployed within the police force, a move which has angered activists who continue to call for justice. Ahmed Idris reports now from the capital, Abuja.
After 5 days of demonstrations that in some cases turned violent, protesters are savoring their victory. Protests began 6 days ago after a man was allegedly shot and killed by members of the police unit called the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, or SARS. The police chief said dissolving the unit, whose members have further tarnished the image of the police, was necessary for a force that is in serious need of changes.
The Special Anti-Robbery Squad of the Nigerian Police, otherwise known as SARS, is hereby dissolved across all formations, the 36 state police commands, and the Federal Capital Territory, where they currently exist.
Soon, a new squad will be set up to tackle violent crimes, and that civil society will now work with the police to identify and punish officers found committing abuses. But civil society wants to see officers already accused of murder and other crimes be punished. Buoyed by their victory, activists now want to push for more accountability from judges and politicians.
Judicial, corruption is still very, high. Legislative corruption is going on, and executive corruption is going on. So definitely all the institutions, all the public institutions need serious, reform in order to respond to the yearning and aspiration of Nigerians. You cannot have an organization that is supposed to be run by law and order, and it is completely carrying out its activities with impunity.
On the street, many say they've heard it all before.
This is not the first time the government have been banned SARS. They are banned. This is third time now. At the end, they'll soon come up again. So for me, it's not acceptable.
And the fact that Nigerians can actually gather up and to a cause actually, and to do things that people know that we have a voice.
They insist dissolving the anti-robbery unit alone is not enough. They want officers guilty of the crimes they've been accused of punished. And that is what Nigerians will be watching out for before the new police outfit is formed. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Abuja.
Osai Ojigo is the director of Amnesty International Nigeria, and she joins us now via Skype from Abuja. Madam, thank you so much for joining us here on Al Jazeera. So first of all, your reaction to the news that SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, has been disbanded.
Thank you for having me. We are actually waiting to get more concrete information from the IG of police, because this is not the first time that they've tried to allay fears that they are going to do something. We want them to actually bring those officers that have been accused. They have this information already. There have been complaints. We've also issued reports of several notorious sections in the states where atrocities have been committed. So we would actually have loved them to say, this is what we're going to do, investigate, and before redeploying any officers, to make sure those that have been specifically named or there are complaints against, that they are set aside and they are actually prosecuted.
But are you happy that any kind of clarity has actually been shed at this moment as to how any of this will happen? Because already we're hearing that the officers will be redeployed within the police force, which obviously would mean that a lot of people who have accused SARS of committing atrocities would not get justice.
That exactly is one of the challenges we've seen. When we investigated some of the reports we received, we found out that whenever officers have been accused of torture, extrajudicial executions, sometimes these investigations by the police are stalled because the officers are deployed. So it would be a fait accompli if the IG chooses to redeploy all the officers concerned without first going through a screening process and ensuring that those that already have cases to answer are dealt with separately before any redeployment takes place. We also would like to see a timeline, because right now everything is just in the clouds. There's no specific dates, and no one knows who is going to be in charge of the redeployment and how they're going to ensure that this sort of atrocities do not happen again.
I mean, as you mentioned, this isn't the first time that SARS has been banned or disbanded as a group in itself. Do you think that at the root of this is a lack of will by the authorities, or do you think that actually it may also be a lack of power or the ability to really address some of the power structure behind SARS and many of the crimes that its members have been accused of?
The sad reality for many of us working in Nigeria and living in Nigeria is the fact that impunity has been allowed to reign for a very long time. Despite the IG's banning of SARS, the announcement came out this afternoon, we are still receiving reports of police harassing protesters, beating protesters. We are hearing shocking reports about people losing their lives because police are using excessive force. The only reason why they continue to do this, despite the fact that they've gotten the highest order from the hierarchy, is because they believe nothing will happen to them. And that is something we want to see change. And it's not enough for the authorities to say they are going to do something. We want them to match it with action, because time and time again, officers have not been brought to justice, and this has allowed this sort of breakdown of law and order that we are seeing in the country today.
One of the reasons why this announcement was made about the SARS being disbanded is obviously the protests that we have seen across Nigeria for days now, the strong online campaign with the hashtag #EndSARS. Do you think that that will keep going until people are satisfied that it's not just lip service being paid to SARS being disbanded, but that something actually will be done about the situation?
From all indications, people are very angry, and justifiably so. Almost everyone knows the story of someone who has been affected by this unit and by the police in general. And so it's important for Nigerian leaders to come out now to respond to the needs of the community. And they can only do that by empathizing with people and by giving that reassurance that justice will be served. A first step would be to state clearly the cases that they're investigating, open up, be transparent, and ensure that civil society actors and independent human rights commissions like the National Human Rights Commission will be allowed to access many of the venues where these atrocities have been committed in SARS holding cells. That way, people would then begin to see that the government is going to match action with its words, and that the police hierarchy will get the support they need in order to do this the right way, the human rights way.
And Madam, you rightly point out all the ways that people should remain alert and aware about, the things that should happen moving forward. But do you think that, generally speaking, what we've heard today, from the police chief, that the SARS will be disbanded, is good news, a step in the right direction?
I think it's a step in the right direction in terms of stopping the excessive use of the SARS to perpetrate crimes in Nigeria. But we want something that would be long-lasting. So disbanding this unit and creating another unit by another name that will continue to commit atrocities will still not be acceptable. We want a complete overhaul of the practices of the police in Nigeria. They need to respect international law and standards, and they need to ensure that they are operating within the law. Right now, what we have is rogue officers who think that no one can do anything to them, and which has allowed impunity to thrive.